Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Susan Damiani. I am the Director of Gift Planning at St. John's University, and I'm also the host of our Power Hours, the St. John's Power Hours, where we inspire and re-energize all of us during this challenging time with the pandemic. And I'm really, really excited today because we were supposed to have this discussion, the Women in Philanthropy discussion, back in March. And we all know what happened in March and everything shut down. And we are, just FYI, postponing our Women's Weekend to the upcoming March in 2021. But I thought since today is National Philanthropy Day, why wait to inspire each other and to begin a networking group of alumni at St. John's University. And I thought the talk, Women in Philanthropy, obviously is, appropriate for this day. And when I was doing the test run with all these fabulous alumni here with us, and I'm going to introduce you to them shortly, I just felt exactly what I just said. I felt very invigorated. I was thinking about different possibilities of volunteering and, just making the most of my time. I think we've learned here at the pandemic that life is precious and we have to make the most of it. So it doesn't take one person to get the ball rolling, but certainly I want today to kind of start to be a little bit of a nudge in a positive way, and to empower all of us who are alumni. I'm an alumna of St. John's, proud alumna of St. John's. 1987, I graduated from the College of Business Administration, which is now the Peter J. Tobin School of Business. And I'm very proud to be a graduate of St. John's University. But I have to say, when someone comes up to me, and if they should ask the question, what does it mean to be an alumna of St. John's? And I'm going, Andrea is going to pose that question to all of the panelists. I have to say, I have to stop and really think about it. And I'm kind of concerned about that. We had a very empowering alumni association in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and it started to drift off in the 90s. We had Jerry DiPergia, Veronica Smith, Bernadette Vasquez, just to name a few, that were very strong women leaders at St. John's University, graduates, and opened, the doors for all of us here today. And many other alumni, like Dr. Sedano. I have the fortunate position at St. John's to be the director of the McAllen Society, which is our legacy society. And I get to meet so many of our alumni who graduated in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, and they share their stories. And although they're slightly different from mine, I know they had a lot more challenges than I had. And I had less challenges because of them. So I first want to say thank you to all the alumni that came before me and opened all those doors and established the Alumni Association. So I feel really responsible today, and I hope all of you, I can share that sentiment that we need to feel responsible and also grateful for the alumni of what they did for us. And because of that, I feel responsible that we have to move forward and come together. We know in the past couple of years, women empowerment is out there in the news. And although I've had my challenges, being a Queens girl, having a Queens accent, being, coming from a family of immigrants, there's no doubt it's more challenging for minority women. But I love the fact that St. John's, we're so diverse and we can all come together and we can all help each other do better, just on a professional level, but also on a personal level. There's a lot of things that go on at different stages in a woman's life, and it would be really nice to have a resource and to turn to each other for support. So let me just tell you, I'm going to turn it over now to the panelists, but I want to give you a little bit of their background. And you're just the background alone, and I can't even read their entire bios because that's how amazing and so full they are of so many accomplishments. And I feel very honored today to be in their presence. They're really very remarkable women. So the first woman that an alumna that I'd like to introduce you to is Jen Daniel. Jen is a graduate 2007, and I always say this, I said this on our video. I still can't believe she looks like she just graduated, but she's 2007, and she graduated Tobin School of Business, and she's the founder of Princess Chambers, Inc. She was born and raised in Brooklyn. Any of our Brooklynites out there? Yay, right? And she, at a young age, what her mom instilled community service. I think also being a student at St. John's University, I think the teachings, the Vincentian teachings, certainly got the best of her. And she started out, she majored in risk management and insurance, but then realized with all this community service and her Vincentian teachings, realized that, this is not the path for her. And she went into social work. And then in 2009, am I correct, Jen? In 2009 is when you established Princess Chambers. And I'm not going to go into, the organization. She's certainly going to share that with her. But, it's just amazing what she's doing and how she's empowering so many young women. So thank you, Jen. And we're very proud that you're part of the St. John's family. Our moderator, I'm going to introduce you to our moderator, Andrea Jabo. She is, first, before I forget, she's Alpha Sigma Alpha. She's part of that sorority. Her class was the first class because it transitioned from Kappa Phi Beta. She graduated in 2018 from the College of Business. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to say Business Administration. No, the Collins College Professional. Oh my God, I'm sorry. It just ran a blank. This has never happened to me. College of Professional Studies. I couldn't say it. So all these different colleges are mixing me up. And she majored in public relations. She speaks 4 languages. Amazing. And she is Miss New York USA 2020. And she was just in Miss USA. She looked fabulous. We were very proud of her. She is a public speaker, writer, and philanthropist. And she immigrated, her family immigrated from Cape Verde. Is that how you say it? Verde? Am I right? Okay. To the US at age 7. And she faced many challenges living in the inner city and not being able to speak English. And I know for many of our families, they've been in that position. And because of that, through her initiative of More Than Enough, she serves as an advocate for inner city and underprivileged kids. So thank you, Andrea, for all that good work that you're doing. Our next panelist that I want to introduce you to is Dr. Victoria Pilotti, and she earned her BA degree in Spanish and Italian Studies at Queens College. But she earned a Master of Science degree in Education and her doctorate in Education at St. John's University. She is the president of a wonderful local organization here in Queens, the Center for the Women of New York, and she started as a volunteer. And she also volunteers at Zonta, I don't know if I'm saying that properly, Victoria, a club of Greater Queens, and it empowers women and girls through education. She's also the past president of the Toast of Queens, which is part of, is the public speaking chapter of Toastmasters International. And she's the member of the board of directors of Americans of Italian Heritage. So thank you, Victoria. Again, we're very, very proud of you. And our last but not least panelist today is Patricia Shea. Patricia is a graduate 1962 from the School of Education. She is the founder and executive director of MOMMAS House, and it's the only transitional residential program for young women. And over her 10 years, her family has housed 18 young women, finally ran out of room, right, Pat? And in 1986, established Mama House, which is thriving ever since, which is helping young mothers. And it's a great, great organization. It's pretty well known now. I think everybody knows about you, Pat. You're quite the celebrity. And we were just saying on the call at LinkedIn, everybody was saying how amazing Pat is, and she is, like all of these women here today on this call. So without ado, I know you want to learn more, and I want you to be inspired by these women. So I'm going to turn it over to our wonderful, beautiful moderator, Andrea Jabo. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Good afternoon, everyone. Whether you're joining us from wherever, we're hoping you and your loved ones are safe and healthy. My name is Andrea Jabo, and I'm so honored and I'm so thrilled to welcome you to our Women in Philanthropy event. Today, we're going to discover the power in philanthropy and truly the incredible things that can happen when women join together, especially the alumnae from St. John's University. So welcome to all of our panelists. Welcome from all of you at home. Let's get started with our very first question. So I've always been a big believer in having an intention behind everything that you do. And so I wanted to ask you ladies, what is your why? What drove you to start your organization and be inspired to make a difference? Jennifer, let's start with you.
I didn't realize that I was going to get unmuted, so thank you for that. So I would say it all started from probably high school. I went to a high school for community development that literally would identify issues and instead of just sitting around and just watching things happen, it was all about let's tackle this. So I think that was already instilled. And then when I was in undergrad, I was an RA, resident assistant for freshmen. And I feel like that's where the passion for young women came about, because it was my senior year, and I started seeing certain things, like certain issues, whether it was self-esteem or being underprepared for college, or just so many different challenges. So I feel like it was little baby steps of things that were coming and that was developing inside. And then as Susan mentioned, I was a risk management insurance major, which was completely opposite of my personality. And Andrea, you know me. So to be behind a desk and after literally being so involved in a school where I was studying abroad, that I was involved in campus ministry, Voices of Victory, and then now being a resident assistant, and then to go into a corporate sector, I knew I needed to do some kind of supplemental activities that involved the community service. And I felt that there was a reason why I kept meeting high school girls, and then and really just having those conversations with them. And then I learned that some of them weren't even going to go to their prom because they couldn't afford it. And going back to when you see something, you do something. So I literally did a grassroots, collected 250 prom dresses within 2 weeks for prom, but it did a prom dress drive. And when I say that, I realized that some of these girls had never had an opportunity to try on a dress or ever was called beautiful. I was like, this is my why. The girls need to know that they're beautiful. They need to know that they're enough. They need to know that they deserve great experiences. So when I do the prom event, or when I do have opportunities to do mentoring, or when we started the scholarship, my why is really to really improve the quality of life of others, and really help them become that best version of themselves.
Oh, I got chills. I love that. And I think that's so important, especially when we're looking to pioneer the next generation of women. Patricia, what about you?
Oh, I come from a family of volunteers, so it started at home. And then when I got to St. John's, more volunteer opportunities opened to me. And that exposure led me to an awareness that I've been living in a glass bubble for most of my life. And there's a lot of people with very needy life situations. So I volunteered at various activities in St. John's, was very active in the school. And then in the senior year, we were treated to a presentation by Marino Mission, Mexico, and a great experience occurred from that. A group of us, journeyed to Mexico and spent the entire summer down there in a really poverty-stricken area. And when I came back, now I had a degree in education with a math major. I told my father, I'm going to become a social worker, and the man nearly had a heart attack because he had just spent all that money on making me a teacher. So from that point forward, my life changed. That was a life-changing event to see that there was a need. So we also, as my family, always opened our homes to people who were in need. So after I got married, I did the same thing. So at one point when I was working with volunteering at Birthright, I was helping young women who were pregnant, and I found that the greatest need they had was they had no place to live. When they went home and told their families that they were pregnant, it was get out. And it was a time, I mean, this was 1986, things were different. People were very concerned about what the neighbors thought, and it was sad. It was a very sad situation. So I took in this girl, Judy, stayed in my house while she was pregnant. She and her 4 siblings had been abandoned on a street corner in Freeport and were placed into foster care. They were not placed together. She had no family support, no family knowledge of who her parents were or what was her life like. So when she was aging out of foster care, she became pregnant and she had no place to live. So she came and lived at my house. And during the pregnancy, she said, I really want to find a place of my own. So I said, well, I'll help you. And we kept looking and looking. Nobody would rent to an 18-year-old pregnant young woman with no visible means of support. So she found a rented room eventually. And I went to see her after the baby, who was Robert, was born. And I brought over clothing and equipment and everything. And she was living with 9 men in a rooming house. People who were out on probation, people who were in mental treatment, people who were drug addicts. There were fights every night. She lived in constant fear. I said, you can't stay here. This is too dangerous. So a few days later, she said, would I watch Robert while she went to the doctor? And I did. And she never came back that day. And she didn't come back the next. And I never saw her again. So for lack of a decent place to live and an address to call her own, she had to abandon her child. So that was my why. I absolutely had to do something about this. It was right there in front of me and I had no choice. I feel that that's how my commitment began.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that, Patricia. Victoria, what was your why?
My first why that brought me to the world of volunteering was breast cancer. When I was recuperating from my breast cancer surgery, I began to see that there was much more to life and I needed to give back. So I began counseling other breast cancer survivors and those who were just newly diagnosed. And then I began to volunteer at various organizations, my son's school. I joined the Mothers Guild there. And so it was all about women empowering the students. And then I began to join cultural organizations. But then I met Andrea Jabo. She founded the Center for the Women of New York in 1987. And she saw a void at that time in Queens, that Queens did not offer services for women in need. And she began to fill that void, and especially in the areas of pay inequity, and offer services for women coming out of divorce, women who had small children, who could not go out and obtain work. She offered a daycare certification so they could still be, mothers taking care of their children, but yet earn a living helping other mothers take care of their children. And she began to offer home health aid certifications and job readiness, all of that. And then she also began to fight for women's safety, combating against domestic violence. And that's where I came in. I met her at a function for a nonprofit, And she brought me in 15 years ago, and I've been with the center ever since. And our dear Anne passed away this December, and now I'm filling her very, very large shoes, trying my best to help women in need. And it's very fulfilling but in this time, we have to be creative and offer services virtually. And we're meeting the challenge. And as Patricia said, I am partnering with social workers, volunteer social workers that we've brought in, and to provide services alongside with them. It is so rewarding to find solutions for women and help them on the path to success and safety. And it's just so rewarding to be in a nonprofit organization.
Thank you. One of the most remarkable things that I've always believed in being a woman is not only how we can truly do it all, but how we make everything look so easy, even when it's not always easy. So I really want you guys to share, were there any challenges that you've had to overcome in getting your organization started, or any challenges that you faced at some point in your philanthropic endeavors? And we can start with you, Jen.
I figured I was going to go first. So, I was trying to figure out which one to pick, right? Like, because the thing about it is that when you start something from scratch, or when you're given something that you're supposed to do, there's so many things, whether you think, okay, do I have enough resources? Can I do it? Do I have everything in me to do it, right? And I think when I first started Princess Chambers, it was both, right? The challenges that I was coming from a business background, and I had to think from a lens of, wait, but you believe in one division and community, right? So the part you just got to do, because sometimes you can be in your own head and you can talk yourself out of doing things. And because the year before I had the idea to do the prompters drive, I thought about doing it, but I was like, I don't think I have enough time to do it. And then the following year, it never left. That thought never left. So I did it the next year. So really, probably Princess Chamber would have started in 2008 had I just gotten out of my own way. But then literally something that I was like, will I have enough dresses? Will I have enough volunteers? Will I have enough ... And the reality is, when you're supposed to do something, you will always have enough, and everybody will always be able to get served. Even when you feel like, am I going to have enough dresses? Am I going to have enough resources for the girls? Am I going to have enough people to help execute? And what I've learned is that when you believe in what you're doing, other people will believe in it as well. And even with starting it as an organization, I worked full time at an insurance brokerage, and I was doing this prompters drive on the side. And I was like, well, let me ask my coworkers if they have a dress that they want to donate. And one of my coworkers actually forwarded the flyer to one of her friends, and the friend turned out to be a lawyer. And the lawyer said, well, if she wants to turn this into an organization, I'll help her do it in pro bono. So it just shows you that when you're supposed to do stuff, even in the midst of you may feeling like you don't have the things that you need or the resources, there will always be a way. And it may come from the most random places or the places you least expect. Because I was thinking, okay, well, I don't know if I should, because will they receive it? But they did. And those are the things that I feel like has been the biggest teaching moments, is that to believe in it, and then everything else will work itself out.
And I couldn't agree on that more, especially, seeing what you've done with Princess Chambers, and then also looking at my own life too. I couldn't agree more. Patricia, what about you?
Well, there were enormous obstacles because I needed to get a house for these mothers to live in, and I had no money. So I did a challenge fundraiser so that I got someone to agree to put up $10,000 if I could match $10,000 in donations. And so I set out to do that. And then I set out to find a house that I wouldn't have to pay for, because $10,000 doesn't buy you a tent in New York. So I spoke to every single person that came across my path and told them I'm looking for a house with 5 bedrooms for these homeless mothers and babies. I told everybody, and I use this standard line. If you stood next to me on the checkout line at the supermarket, I would tell you, a house that I could get for these mothers and babies? And people were just starting to avoid me because it was getting to be a little bit much. But because I spread the word and a lot of people spread it for me, some man came forward and said, I'll get you a house and I'll let you use it for 4 years to see if you can get it off the ground. And then I had to staff this house because Mama's house is staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by a house manager so that these girls and their babies are cared for and monitored. I had to do that with no money. So I got volunteers. The whole program ran for 7 years completely by volunteers, volunteer house managers, volunteer repairmen, people who cooked and cleaned for us, people who got donations of furniture. It was constantly fundraising, and these volunteers were the backbone of the organization, and they continue to be to this very day. But then, just as Jen said, I had to get this legal. I had to make this work. So I got pro bono lawyers. I had to get a board of directors who even, felt the same way and had the same ministry that I did, to make a commitment to this. And so it's been 35 years now, and it's certainly grown from that first one donated house to 5 sites now. So by constantly being very transparent about how we're doing what we're doing, and people will know where their money is going when they make a donation, and that they can learn to trust Mama's House as fulfilling what they've committed to do. And I think those obstacles can all be overcome if you have trust from the people who support you. Can't hear you.
Oh no, I was going with Victoria.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much, Patricia.
Okay.
Thank you, Andrea. So I think the biggest obstacle is never enough hands. We always need more volunteers, but somehow we get the job done. Women working together get the job done. We may be tired, we may lose a lot of sleep, we may work 24/7, but we get it done, and it's a labor of love. I just wish I had another pair of hands, that's all.
Always, but you seem to be doing an incredible job at that, so it's got to count for something. What has been the biggest impact that you've seen your organization have on the community and just in the lives of others? And Jen, we'll start with you again.
So I would say one of the beauties, I would say, of starting an organization is that you get to see the growth of the organization, even when challenges happen, and you're forced to pivot. I would say seeing how the event started, I did it in a small room in Fort Greene section of Brooklyn the first year. And then how I even ended up doing the event at the Brooklyn Marriott was because that space was no longer available. I feel that it was a divine moment that forced you to have to grow, right? So I think being at the Marriott, I got a chance to see girls who may not have had an experience. So, there's other organizations that may give out a free dress, but it's all about the experience and making them feel royal, making them feel like they deserve the very best. So I feel like being able to have seen the growth and being able to see how not only is it that, okay, we've served over 800 young women since the course of inception, but we've also been able to provide an experience that was memorable, where some of the girls that were recipients want to volunteer in the future. And then also evolving and knowing that it was deeper than just using the dress as an opportunity to build self-esteem, but also, you know what, these girls are going to college, hopefully, right? Some of them are college bound. Let's start a scholarship program. So being able to provide a scholarship for those girls, we've served 8 girls so far with our scholarship program, and 95% of them have been first generation college students. So I feel like each new area that we've gone into has also forced us to explore another. So when we started giving out scholarships, we noticed that, okay, well, there was girls that were reaching back out to volunteers and me, saying during their first year of college, saying like, do I belong here? Right? No, you absolutely do. But when you grow up in homeless shelters, or you might be a first generation college student, you don't necessarily know how to navigate that, or you may feel underprepared. So, and that's why we started our mentoring piece to it. So I feel like we've gotten a chance to see the impact not only on the self-esteem, but also meeting a need financially for college, but then also that support getting that transition from high school to college is very nuanced. And a lot of times students are underprepared. They don't necessarily know their resources available to them. And then also that part where how they're the things that maybe they didn't even know that they existed, like whether it's trauma, whether it's you know, their own individual identity. That's all things that college books don't teach you, high school books don't teach you. So it really is the help of a mentor and just somebody that can be like a big sister.
Thank you, Jen. Patricia, what's been the impact Mama's House has had?
Many of the young women that we have taken in over the years have never graduated from high school. Many of the people that they live with and grew up with did not graduate from high school. So when they come to us, we have to start with an educational piece to help them progress in life and have a firm basis so they can build upon that. So it was always a struggle because they were far behind and they were feeling very incapable of doing this. And it required, just like Jen said, a lot of mentoring, a lot of encouragement. And we did it. We became their surrogate parents to enhance their lives by encouraging them to attend school and do their work, etc. So the greatest impact, the way I can measure the impact of Mama's House, is that I am now going to the college graduations of children who were born at Mama's House, whose family never attended college, barely attended high school. And yet once we changed the direction of that mother and raised her expectations, she was able to pass that on to her children and change the life that they would have had if it weren't for this experience. So I feel that whatever we invest in that woman, just about same idea of raising their self-esteem, making them feel empowered, making them feel beautiful inside and out, making them know that they are capable of being good parents and teaching them how to do that, changes the course of not just their lives, but for generations to come. So, and now they are coming back to support the girls who are living with us now. They mentor, they fundraise, they make donations of clothing and furniture themselves. The things that they benefited from while they were in Mama's House, they continue to supply back. And not only that, the community at large is being given the opportunity to support these young women. And that is a beautiful gift that we give the community to make them feel better about themselves, because they too can make a difference in somebody's life through Mama's House.
And I couldn't agree more with it definitely being a beautiful gift. So thank you so much for, you know, really pioneering and changing the course of generations to come. Andrea, what about you?
I would say the greatest impact that I've seen is when a woman comes to us with no skills and then learns the skills to be able to have the job of her dreams. And we always say that the best way to empower women is with a paycheck. And so to give a woman the confidence and the skills to move on in her life is so rewarding, especially after our annual career conferences, when so many women would come to us looking for work and looking for additional skills. Sometimes we would take them into the office after the career conference, and they would gain the skills just by volunteering in the office, and of course, confidence. And there are so many women that are still in the center's lives because they come back and thank us for the jobs they have now and the confidence they have now.
Like I was mentioning earlier, I mean, you guys have done so much for your community, and I think a big part of it also, in being part of a philanthropy, is giving back to the next generation, right? Uplifting the next generation of women to pave the way and make a difference, just like how all of you have done. So what advice would you give to other women out there who are looking to get involved or looking for a way to start their own organizations? Jen?
Sorry, I was muting myself. So advice I would give to future women, I would say, is to not focus on what you can't do and focus on everything you can. because sometimes it's so easy to say, well, I don't do this, I don't do that. But you know what? You'll learn. And there will be times when, you know what, you'll just be aligned with somebody who can support you in that way. And then also is that focus on what you're called to do. I think that sometimes we can say like, oh, well, maybe I won't do that. Somebody else is doing it, but no one can do it like you. So I feel like it's being focused on your individual calling and knowing that you bring something so specific to something that that will differentiate it. You know, I think about, I feel like recently I heard about like when people make, like if you go down the bread aisle, like there's always people who are going to want a specific type of bread, right? So, and none of the competitors are looking at like what the other one's doing. They're just making the bread and everyone's still being able to eat it. So don't focus on what other people are doing, focus on what you've been uniquely designed to do, and know that you just stay aligned to whatever you're supposed to be doing, and you don't have to worry about what you can't bring, because somebody you'll be aligned with that can help you with it.
Thank you. And as someone who loves bread, I love that analogy. Thank you. Patricia?
Hi. So I think that women who can find a mission in their life are more joyful, more productive, more inspiring than any other group of women there is. If you can find something that you have passion about and that you want to do, invest every minute of your time that's available to you and make this happen. I was probably the worst choice God could have made to start this organization. I am so disorganized. I am not at all the person that should be leading anything. And I started on my dining room table. But apparently, when you are called to some kind of you see a commitment, you make a commitment, the utensils and the needs and the way is shown to you. And people will come into your life that you never expect to help you along the way. So I am standing on the shoulders of those who helped me start this. So have confidence that that will also happen to you. If you're into a good mission, if what you want to do will help people become better or more or exactly what they were supposed to be, you're not going to fail. You are definitely not going to fail. Just trust your instincts, go with faith, and God will provide.
Amen to that. Victoria, what advice do you have?
My advice is to find your passion. What is it that really bothers you about society? What unfairness? What injustice? And then seek out a volunteer opportunity. Start small. And what will happen, you will gain leadership skills, because when you're a volunteer, you're asked to make decisions because no one else can, because everyone is shorthanded. And you begin to grow, and you begin to grow in the cause, and you begin to find ways to maybe support the cause in ways that was not there before. So I do say start with that passion. What is it? What is it that really motivates you to want to make a change in society, however small? And follow that.
Thank you. And my last question, kind of two parts. The first is, what does it mean for you to be an alumna of St. John's? And also, if anyone is interested in getting involved, volunteering, or reaching out, is there any email or any social media handles that you'd like to share? And Jen, we can start with you again. I think Jen's unmuting herself.
Yeah, I feel like I was
got you, girl.
spoiled
No
with
worries.
you doing. You know, something that I feel that stuck with me when I was at St. John's, and I feel like it was, this century. Okay, St. Paul Assisi, where he said, use the gospel at all words, and when necessary, use words. Yeah, share the gospel at all times, and when necessary, use words. I feel like that always stuck with me, and that's something that I remember hearing in one of my theology classes. And it's because, living out the gospel and living out just what the Vincentian mission is, I feel like that has probably been my biggest takeaway. I think about all of the experiences that I had at St. John's and how it really shaped me into the woman that I am today. Like being able to go on a Panama plunge and work and build outhouse for an elderly couple. Like those are the things that my friends didn't do that in college, and being able to have those memories of being a resident assistant and baking and having girls coming to into my room at like 2 o'clock in the morning to watch movies. Like those were all things that even I still talk to my residents, what is this, 13 years later. So those are I feel like those meaningful moments were the things that prepared me and made me, think that, what, life is so much bigger than us, right? It's not about that career. Like I appreciate the experience that I had in Tobin, but it was all those lived experiences just being on campus that really shaped and molded me to still even think about even embodying that Vincentian mission. So, so I think that what that means as an alumna is just making sure, like, whatever you learn, your life is so much beyond you, and it's okay to take turns and start one way and then go the other. Because I mean, I remember being in a cubicle doing insurance work, and to think like now who I am today, like that was part of the experience, but it's now things where I can speak on, but also knowing that life is so much greater than ourselves.
We're going to be putting in a contact, I guess, slide of everybody's information, but I guess, can you just say any handles or an email that people can reach out if they're looking to get involved?
Part 2 of the question, of course, I forgot that part. So we're always looking for volunteers. Of course, COVID was the curveball that we couldn't predict, and we did not have our prom event, but we are also going to be relaunching our mentoring program and also having volunteers for our future events. We know COVID was not going to be forever, so whether it's a personal shopper or even just being able to mentor a girl transitioning from high school to college, that's ways that we're looking for volunteers, and people can visit www.princesschambersinc.org, or even find us on social media, Instagram and Facebook at Princess Chambers INC.
Thank you, Jen. Patricia, what does it mean for you to be an alumna of St. John's?
Well, one of the things that I wanted to mention is that you and I, of course, share a sorority background. My sorority, Kappa Phi Beta, led into your sorority, Alpha Sigma Alpha, and I think that my sorority sisters, who are still my friends today, and now it's over 50 years since I graduated, those women were the core of the people who helped me start what I started. And then their friendships extended and helped me build on that. So the St. John's experience was a very good one for me. And I since and over the years have developed a relationship with St. John's through their service learning program. So students at St. John's now volunteer at MOMMAS House on a regular basis, and it's been going on for years. And also professors have taken on St. John's and done specific projects for us in the business administration, in publicity, in so many facets, in even developing a brochure and a website and things like that. So I really believe that St. John's made the difference in the success that MOMMAS House has had. I think that it is a very good thing to have this program because it enables people to do something about an issue that is so very prevalent now, which is homelessness. But the thing that has really sent us reeling is COVID, because we had to put all of our young women and all of our staff under quarantine for months. We've had to devise all different ways of supporting our program. We've had to cancel all fundraising events this year and depend on donors to just believe in us and still support us. So it's been a very big struggle, keeping everybody healthy, keeping them fed, and with a roof over their head. So I'm so glad for the opportunity to spread the word through this vehicle, and hope that some people will learn more about MOMMAS House and want to get involved.
And I'll tell you that you've definitely left a beautiful legacy, because at St. John's, when I was a member of Alpha Sigma Alpha, I was one of those women that volunteered at MOMMAS House. So thank you so much. And Victoria, what about you?
Being a St. John's alumna means that I have this community of classmates that I can always count on. And I attend many of the events, and I seem to expand that community with each event that I attend. And now they're virtual, so I'm counting those on this call to be my expanded community. And also my children attended St. John's, so St. John's is just part of our family. My husband attended St. John's, and also St. John's has been there for me. 20 years after graduation, I was able to go to the Career Center and expand my opportunities. So it's always there for me. That's what it means.
Thank you so much, Victoria. And Susan, I guess I'll hand it off to you. Do we have any questions from the audience?
Yes, we actually, thank you, everyone. That was excellent. We have a very interesting question from one of our attendees. Let me just pull it up. It's in our chat. They're asking, they just started supplying assistive mobility in Africa from nation to nation. And last year from New York City Recycles, I was able to deliver 67 tricycles to some physically challenged in Nigeria. That's amazing. Fortunately, production there is well organized, so I was able to promote their local industry as well. But this year, I am to supply to Cameroon, but home production is not as organized as Nigeria. So I've decided to get them from here and take care of the transportation. So I'm finding difficulties landing on any such places, and I would be glad for any assistance with this. So anybody able to answer that question or provide any type of assistance? No.
Clarifier, is she looking for assistance when it just comes to funding the transportation from here to there? I don't know if she's still here and can comment that.
Yeah, I think we would need her to.
Yeah, I read that she was looking for a manufacturer of tricycles.
Mm-hmm. Would you like me to unmute our
Sure. Sure,
questioner?
she's an alumna.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Hi, Winifred. I unmuted you, so you are able to speak with the panelists.
Is she there?
I'm not sure I've unmuted her. Winifred?
I would suggest writing the question in the chat, and maybe she'll read it. And
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe she'll read. I actually have a question for all of you, and I think this always comes up for women, is balance. You're all very, very busy. Pat, you were sharing your time, trying to start up this organization. You were saying you were disorganized and all of that, and like, how could I be the one, to be the one in charge of leading this organization. So how do you find the balance with your personal and your professional lives? And because I know as a fundraiser at St. John's University, it takes a lot of energy. And there are days it feels like 24 hours a day that I'm working on weekends and so forth to try to make things happen. So I'm gonna ask Pat first. I'm sorry, Pat, putting you on the spot first. I mean, how do you have the balance? You have your grandson there today, and you're doing this virtual conversation with us.
So I have 5 children, and when I started this program, I was a mother with young children. And so the only way that I could make this work is involve them in the program. So they volunteer, and that made things a lot easier for them to understand why I was not there, why I was always late picking them up from somewhere. They never ceased to tell, why were you so late all the time? And the only gratitude I have in my life now is that they are all mothers, and now they know why I was always late. But I just did it. I mean, you just had to do it. And it was a lot of juggling. I look back at my calendars for some God knows what reason. I keep an annual calendar, and it's a book, and I have them from the very beginning of my parenting, because they always had a million things that they were doing, sports and activities. by this counter, and I looked back at this counter and I said, there is no way that in one day I did all that. But you did it. You just do it. And you manage your time as best you can. A lot of things, the house does not get clean. Basically, that's what happens. Laundry,
Too funny.
laundry is debatable. But it's just you do what you have to do. And I felt that what I was doing was very important. And they don't remember whether the house was clean or not. They really don't. They
That's
only
right.
remember the mothers and babies who came and stayed here for a while.
Well, you had quite an extended family. You
Yes.
had 5 children, but then you
Right.
had to take care of so many others. So that's great. Thank you. Victoria, you have a family, and I'm so glad you're a breast cancer survivor, and I'm sure with health issues and family, and then taking on all these volunteer projects, it's quite, that's difficult to balance. How do you survive? How do you do it?
You sometimes forget to do things like laundry, and you have to catch up when you have time. Sometimes you just have to shut down your technology. Otherwise, you are working 24/7. It is difficult to balance, but it's a labor of love.
Yes.
Do it with joy, and the rewards are there. So
I know I could say that for myself too. I mean, I really love the job and I love what I do, so I don't feel like I'm working. However, you do get into trouble, and I have gotten into trouble a couple, many times, that my work becomes so much part of my life that sometimes, I don't even realize I'm neglecting, personal side of my life because I'm so caught up with work, and work feels like, the McAllen Society members are my family. I forget, like, oh, they're donors to the university. They just feel so much part of my life that I forget that I'm even working. I'm there, always there to try to help them and whatever they need. And we plan stewardship events and all of that, and we have such a great time together. I sometimes, forget that. It's like, wait, I have a personal life here. I can't be working all of the time. So you can lose sight of the balance. It's very easy. What about for you, Jen?
So I feel like, as somebody who didn't realize that they were burnt out, I feel like I've learned the importance of taking time so I always call it like self-care Sunday, self-care Saturday, and really just taking the time and being intentional about making time, whether it's me just doing some stuff for me or even just even working out. I feel like something that I've learned in 2020 is self-compassion because
That's true.
we're forced to slow down and we are always on the go. You're like, you feel guilty, but it's like a whole pandemic happening outside. So it's really practicing self-compassion, and then also setting boundaries, because I feel like when you're always available and then you become unavailable, you try to set boundaries. You got to really stand still to your boundaries, because people won't tell you to stop moving or stop working or even stop taking. So I feel like really putting up those appropriate boundaries has really helped me. And then also really just not being so hard on myself, because I thought there was so many things that I planned to do that first month. I was like, well, we're home, so I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And somebody was like, but you do know it's okay if you do none of those things, right? Because I mean, I was finishing my last semester of grad school and I'm adding extra stuff on my plate. I had a friend that said, finish your last semester of grad school, like, and really just be okay with just like not having to be always on the go. I feel like COVID forced a lot of us to like take a step back and realize, you know what, let me slow down, because things will still get done, life will still be there, but we need to be our healthiest self so that we can continue to pour into others.
Yeah, it's hard when you're a take charge. I mean, all of you are take charge women. You can get, like you said, lost. I love when you said the self-compassion and recharging. I know it's taking me a long time, and I think the pandemic has certainly taught me as well, that I stop now to do my workouts, and I feel guilty. But then when I do it, after the workout, I feel so recharged that I have even more energy to do all the work and what I set out to do for that day. So it is good to stop and smell the roses. I actually have a pillow on my bed that says that. So I read it every day to say to myself, you have to stop and smell the roses. Now, I can't wait to hear Andrea, because I know she's been going crazy, preparing herself for Miss USA. I want to know how you balance.
Well, I mean, for me, I think I've always just enjoyed doing things every second of the day, every moment of the day, every single day, 20, like that's just what I just love.
Right.
But very similar to Jen, I've experienced being burnt out. Like you were saying, like it's easier when you love what you do. It's very easy to not keep track of some of the things that aren't being nurtured as it should be. Like your own self and some of the things that you should be paying attention to more when it comes to you and your own being. So for me, it's like I've had to force myself to not do as much. And of course, like I'm one of those people that like I love working out, like that's my time to me. But even more so than that, just moments of just silence, moments of truly not doing anything, whether it's just meditating or just watching something on Netflix. Which is one of those things that I've always felt really guilty about. If I watch more than 2 episodes on Netflix, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could have been doing this, I could have been doing that. But I had to realize it from the perspective of, if I don't take care of myself, if I don't give myself the time of peace and quiet that I need to re-energize and recoup myself, I'm not going to be able to give everything else that I want to give 100%. And that is something that I never want to do. I never want to lack in anything. So knowing that has made me be a little bit more okay with not doing anything, and I really feel less guilty. And I've just seen it just in general, just when I do give myself time to relax, I just feel more upbeat. I feel more energized to really do everything that I need to do. So it's all learning. It's all a journey.
It is a journey. No, but everything you said is so true. I totally can relate to the Netflix, although I love Netflix. I wish I never found out about it, because it's like reading a book, and I'm the type of person, when you read a book, you can't put it down. So before you know it, I just sat down and I'm watching 2 hours worth of TV straight, and I'm like, this is crazy. But then, you just want to find out what happens, to the next one. And I didn't realize, someone told me I was an influencer, and I will share with you, if you have not seen it on Netflix, Emily in Paris is absolutely adorable. I just started
binging that yesterday.
It is great. I highly recommend it. It is a great show. It's very cute. Very, very cute. Well, that kind of leads to another question that I have. Because I hear all of us, like, how do we use the word no, right? I think mostly women are always there, the nurturers, there to help everybody, especially we're very Vincentian. So now it's like we have an added layer to ourselves. So why is it that we have to, because most women are, do the balancing act and they make great leaders and all of that, why do we have to convince women so much? Why are they targeted? Why do they have less confidence? And, all your organizations are empowering women, helping them with the self-esteem, helping them to use the word no for a host of reasons, taking care of themselves. But why is it? Why women, and we don't hear this so much, for the men? Why for the women do you think it is? Is it our upbringing? Like, do we really need to change the dialogue at an early age with young girls? Anybody want to step in? Okay, Pat, yeah.
I think that we want to please. We're brought up to be adjusting to the people around us rather than have them adjust to us. So there has always been a desire to please in whatever aspect of our life we were at. And that's hard to overcome, because you do have to say no sometimes. It could destroy you with the constant yes. If you're too available, if you're available 24/7, which I was for many years to this program to make it work, you can easily get burned out. But let me tell you, with girlfriends and a little wine, you can get through everything.
I love it. That's great. Anybody else want to jump in on that question? Yes, Victoria.
Oh, go ahead, Victoria.
Sorry, Jen.
Thanks, Jen.
No problem.
The other part of your question, why do we need services for women? Well, it's in the culture. It's in the family upbringing that we shouldn't be assertive. we should, we should cater to them. It's built in. It could be subtle or it could be very clearly stated by parents. So we have to combat that. It's in society, it's in the family structure. And when I listen to women speak about their journey from nothing to success, it's always, I had to explain myself. I They didn't make me feel like I belonged, or I wasn't taken seriously. Sometimes I had to put a man on the phone to pretend he was me, and that's how I got the order for this new sales pitch I had, et cetera, and so forth. And so that's why we need organizations to help women. We're not there yet. We've come a long way, but let's look at the 70s. Okay, women were more empowered to get jobs. They were given the right to have credit cards and all of that. But then they were still caregivers for their children and working. And so many of the men were not chipping in to help at home. They were considered the babysitters, and the mothers were still the caretakers when they were working full time. So I don't know if that's changed. I think we have quite a few men caring for their children now. It's getting there. And I know of at least a few cases of friends that I have. It depends on whose job is more demanding. One husband has to help with the virtual schooling because his wife is a physician and cannot. And he is self-employed. So they're making it work. So we're getting there. I hear more and more cases of men caring for the children, but I'm still hearing too many women saying, you can take celebrities, you can take powerful women. They'll always tell you in their story. Yeah, whenever I spoke up, I was thought to be a nasty woman, a woman who's aggressive. Meanwhile, if a man said and acted in the same way, assertive, going places, positive adjectives for the same behavior. So I don't know if that's changed yet, but as I've always said, we need to teach our sons. Start with your own sons. Every mother should teach her sons that every woman out there is your mother, and please respect her.
Well said, Victoria. I know, Jen, you wanted to
Yeah.
jump in on this too.
Well, I was just gonna say I do believe there's always been an overemphasis on like gender roles in general. So I feel like women already where girls grow up to already feel that there's specific industries that they're supposed to be in, that they're supposed to be married by a certain age. We're always told, oh yeah, you want to be a wife, a mother, because that's what they. So now you have an embedded image of how you see your life, but we're not told to be a boss. Right. So now that's a learned behavior. And I feel like there was even something I saw on social media that was that we need to stop telling girls that they're bossy and really tell them that they're leaders. So to Victoria's point, is that, about just how we're perceived in the workplace and industry. Those are all things that you have to unlearn once you get there. I was in a predominantly older white male industry, and that I wasn't taught how to navigate that whole industry as an insurance broker. I had to learn very quickly. So I do think there's a disadvantage that we already have. Because even they'll tell you the largest business deals are actually, they take place in the golf field, on the golf field.
That's right.
But women are not taught to be in those spaces. So a lot of, I think, that we see is really because there's gender bias. And I think that when you are in spaces where you have women that we empower, and that's why it's so important to have women empowerment and having other women leaders or having women friends that are entrepreneurial spirits or business minded, because it's so easy to get caught up in your role is to be the helpmate of a man and help him be, move him towards his vision. But you have your own vision, and it's okay to have that. So I do think that it's society, it's societal norms. I feel like now we're starting to see, like I have a guy friend who he was on paternity leave. So like his industry,
Right.
like they were, so now these are conversations that HR need to be having. Like, how do we support both parents? And why are there women that are afraid to have kids if they're leaders in the workplace because they're afraid of losing their job? These are things that are not okay. So it's like we are the ones that, you know, I look forward to being a mom one day, but it's like the things that you really have to think about, like, where am I going to be in my career before I start building my family? That's not something that guys often have to think about.
No.
They think about wanting to be in a specific, you know, place
Mm-hmm.
in their career, yes, but they don't have to think about how is building my family going to impact my career, you know? So
That's
I
very
do
true.
think that that's why we have to build our girls to believe that, you know what, let's shatter these ceilings, you know, because the reality is that they're already it's the learned behavior of, you have, like, I had an easy bake oven when I was a kid. I had a Barbie house, you know,
Right.
like these are the things that we're given at such a young age that is really building our ideas of how we perceive what our gender roles are.
No, that's very true. I'm glad you brought up about the golf outings, because that's always been one, you know, especially if we're talking about Philanthropy Day. You know, the golf outings, you know, raise a lot of money, but it always struck me, you know, even till this day. I mean, it's 2020. The golf outings are still very male dominated. Now, if there's an organization out there that can prove me wrong, great. I commend you, because I just felt that it wasn't inclusive. We have these golf outings and it's just all for the men. And I know St. John's has some golf outings, and there are, you know, some women that participate, which is great, but it's not a lot of women. And I'm always saying, you know, maybe you should have golf lessons. So this way someone can participate that way if they're, you know, they don't feel like they play well enough. But I think there's a little bit of intimidation, because you're like, oh, now I have to play with men and I'm not that good at it. I continue to take lessons, and I'm one of those people that don't feel like I'm good enough to get on the course, but I really want to go to a golf outing dressed all in pink with like my pink golf clubs and everything, just to make a point, you know, because I really think we need, you know, again, to change even the way we raise money, because I think it's very gender specific in a lot of ways. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's
And
always been
Susan,
like a little pet peeve.
can I
Sure.
just add that I mean, I couldn't agree more with everything everyone just said, but I think the incredible thing about this though is just how capable women are. There isn't a
Yes.
job, there isn't a skill in life in general that I can't think of a woman that can do it. But I can't say the same for a man. So I think that's really all it comes down to.
Oh, that's a great way of us closing this conversation out. I love it. Well, you know what? Before we close, I wrote down words that all of you mentioned, and I think it says a lot, and especially what Andrea was saying about women. So you know, we use the word confidence a lot, passion, you know, Pat was saying, you know, you have to follow your passion, joyful, faith, helping people to become better, determination, pioneer for the next generation of women, empowerment, women working together, resilience, hard workers, leadership skills, transformational, changing lives, paving the way for the next generation. Wow, that's, you know, what you said to Andrea. Wow, women are really, really incredible, aren't they? And your organizations are doing all of that because of your leadership and your hard work and just your passion and your faith and wanting to help, you know, other people. And I think it's great. I have the chills right now just saying it. It's really just wonderful. I can't say it enough. This call has been really, really wonderful. It's great to be in your company. And like I said, when I started, being a St. John's alumna, I totally agree with all of you. I feel that I have the same sentiment. I had a lot of experiences as a student. I was in student government and in a lot of organizations. And my family used to call me Miss St. John's because I practically lived on campus, even though they didn't have a residence hall back then. But St. John's definitely, you know, changed my life and the way I look at the world. And like I said, with the Alumni Association, we no longer have one. We just started today with a group of alumna. I really would love to see all of you join us and individually, you are doing amazing work. Just imagine if we got all of us together. Maybe that might scare people. I don't know. It might scare the world. But I think if we all came together as one, we could really do amazing, amazing things for the future alumni and for the world around us. I mean, there could be initiatives that maybe we can't do by ourselves, but like you said, you need the support, you need volunteers. We can all come together and help each other, but also help the world or help a group of people that need our help. So I really hope today is the start of something terrific, wonderful, inspirational. So for the alumni that have jumped on this call, please, contact me. You can reach out to the other panelists. The pandemic has certainly been a challenge, and for all these organizations, they are, experiencing challenges in terms of donations and volunteers. So you can also, reach out to them, and I hope you will, to help them any way you can. And I don't know if anyone has any last words before we close. 2 minutes for each of you. Andrea?
To say thank you so much for having this, event, because I mean, I graduated from St. John's a few years ago, and I never felt like there was a really strong alumni network, or anyone for me to really reach out to and network with and find support in. And I think that this is a start to that for people who have already graduated and women who are about to graduate. So I'm really excited. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to kind of following everybody as organization and see you guys continue to be successful.
You're welcome. Thank you. And when I met Andrea, we had so many things in common, and yet I'm 1987 grad and she's 2018. So I think years doesn't mean anything. All ages, all stages of life. It's great that we can all come together. Victoria, do you have anything you'd like to close with?
I do. First, I'd like to say thank you, St. John's, for your beautiful mug. We'll enjoy it every Sunday morning. And I would like to reiterate, do volunteer. You will find yourself. You will grow. You will gain leadership skills, and you will find your passion. So do volunteer. It's wonderful.
It certainly is. Thank you. And Pat?
So I think that volunteering and working at Mama's House and developing this program gives me joy. It brings joy to my life. And now I'm reaching an age where I should be sitting back and relaxing, but my mind is so focused on Mama's House and its success that it keeps my brain functioning. So it's to benefit me. That's why I keep doing this. So bring joy to your life and give to somebody else.
Well, we're glad that you do what you do. Thank you. And Jen, we'll end with you.
Listen, I need to be good.
Sorry, any parting words of wisdom?
I would say is that I remember somebody told me when I first started my time at St. John's was that this experience is what you make it. And literally, it's absolutely true. And so I'm glad that I had those 4 years because I feel like I take that with me every day. There's not one day or one experience that I feel like that I've lived in my adult years that I can't say that didn't come from an experience from St. John's. So I would say is never let that intention, mission leave you because there's purpose behind it. And I feel like in this stage at 2020, I know that I'm living my purpose. So, yeah.
That's great. Good note to end on. Ladies, thank you so much for your time. I took you away on Sunday when we were talking about balance and we should be chilling out a little bit, right? But thank you. I think this is really important, and especially today is National Philanthropy Day. So thank you for all the wonderful, wonderful work that you do in your communities. And thank you to all of you that have joined us. We are on the St. John's Office of Gift Planning YouTube channel. So if you want to see this conversation, the recording will be uploaded. in the next day. And please reach out to myself and the panelists if you want to get the St. John's Alumni Network going again. Like I said, I really feel responsible that we need to do this for our prior generations of alumni, because they were so good to us and we're here because of them. So thank you, everyone, and have a great afternoon. Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.